Okay, I do apologize for the technical difficulties that we were having with the computer, but we are ready to go. So if we can find our seats, silence our cell phones, close the back door. If anyone's sitting in the back row to be so kind, I'd greatly appreciate it. Thank you so much.
We sure.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. We are on the record. Today is Tuesday, the 21st day of February in the year 2023. This is a City Council caucus meeting of the Jersey City Municipal Council. We had a scheduled 4 p.m. start. The clock on my cell phone is showing 4:30 p.m. only due to the technical difficulties that we were having. May we have a roll call for the commencement of this caucus? Councilperson Ridley.
Here.
Councilperson Prinzary is absent. Councilperson Baggiano.
Yeah.
Councilperson Saleh.
Here.
Councilperson Solomon.
Here.
Councilperson Gilmore. Councilperson DeGise. And Council President Pro Temp Rivera.
Here.
Council President Waterman is absent, so we have 7 members in attendance at 4:33 p.m. On behalf of Council President Pro Temp Rivera, in accordance with New Jersey Public Laws of 1975, Chapter 231, the Open Public Meetings Act, also known as the Sunshine Law, adequate notice of this meeting has been provided by the posting on the bulletin board of the first floor of City Hall. The annual notice, which is the schedule of meetings and caucuses of the Municipal Council for the calendar year 2023, and filed in the office of the City Clerk on Thursday, December 15th, 2022. In addition, at its time of its preparation, the agenda of this meeting was similarly disseminated on Friday, February 17th, 2023 at 2:25 p.m. to the Municipal Council, Mayor, Business Administrator, Corporation Council, local newspapers, and posted on the city's website, so I can certify as to our total compliance with the Sunshine Law. Council President Pro Temp, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Good evening, Director Kears.
Good evening, Acting President Rivera and members of the City Council. I have 3 resolutions before you this evening. First one is Resolution 23-118, 10.5. This resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Active View Corporation. That's to provide goal-level maintenance support services with the audio-video components of the city's emergency management system, Emergency Operations Center. Total cost of this contract is $33,593.22, and it is funded through the 2021 UASI grant.
Questions? Next.
The next one, Resolution 23-121, 10.8. This resolution will authorize the placement of liens against properties which are cleared by the Division of Sanitation personnel. There are a total of 9 properties, and basically this usually emanates from a call from one of your officers regarding constituents complaining about properties either abandoned or not being taken care of. Once the notice of violation is issued, members of sanitation go up and do clearing at the properties.
Questions? Next.
And the last one I have is 23-141, 10.28. Resolution will authorize the award of a contract to Continental Hardware Incorporated for the purchase and delivery of various supplies and equipment associated with the City Hall renovation project. Total amount of the contract is $486,877, and it's funded through the DPW capital account.
Director, what supplies are we purchasing?
I believe Greg Corrado is in the building. Greg is the project manager for
It's right in the
a good
back.
portion of this. I think it
Greg?
deals primarily with floor tiles.
So it's floor tiles? Sorry, I just wanted to.
Can you come to the podium, Greg?
Oh, God.
23-140.
Won't say, we, monsieur.
Yes. Oh, I have 23, 141. Yes, this is tile. Want me to speak on this now?
Yeah.
That's the question, Cal? This is tiles.
Can you get to the mic, Greg?
Of course. So it's, this is tiles for the first floor lobby. They're made in England. They're expensive, but they're beautiful.
And are they meant to mirror the historic tiles that are in the
Yes,
building?
exactly. They're the replacement of the encaustic tile that's in the floor.
Okay, and this is,
Kind of,
this is just for the first floor? I just want to know the scope.
yes, this is just the lobby.
Oh, just the lobby.
just the lobby, yes.
Okay.
So this tile, for those of you who don't know, this tile is the same tile that's in the State House in Trenton and down in Washington in the Capitol building. It's very specific tile. Instead of being colored and glazed, it's made in layers. So it's very specific and it's made in England. As Greg likes to say, when the Queen died, they closed, so they delayed our previous tile shipment.
Okay.
You will see in the next week that we'll be replacing tile in front of the BA's office suite. That'll be the first new tile that's coming in.
Any other questions? I was gonna say, are maintenance staff going to be trained as to the upkeep
That was a question I asked them very early on, and I have detailed, written out how you take care of it. And I certainly will, make that, give it the rounds and make sure it becomes a permanent part of what we do.
Are you gonna use like the BA's in front of the BA's office as like a test to show them, or?
Yes, that was the idea in all the ways, actually, council member. It was also to see if we even liked it, like whether we were going to do it or not.
Okay.
But consequently, we decided to really do it because we took the tiles off the second floor
Okay.
out here.
Any other questions? Good. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Barker?
Good evening, Council President Pro Temp, members of the council. I have a number of items today, starting with agenda item 3.2, ordinance 23-016. This is an ordinance supplementing the vehicles and traffic chapter of the municipal code to designate various unsignalized intersections as multi-way stop controlled intersections. And they include Colgate and 3rd, Brunswick and 5th, Coles and 2nd, Monmouth and 9th, and Monmouth and Pavonia.
Walker, which one was that?
3.2,
3.2.
City Ordinance 23-016.
Questions?
The next item is a resolution, agenda item 10.17, resolution number 23-130. This is a resolution rejecting 2 bids received by the city on January 24th, 2023 to provide ferry transportation services at the Port Liberté Ferry Terminal. I'm going to invite up Mike Manzella from the Transportation Division to just give a little bit more information on this.
Good evening, council. As you're aware, the city did acquire the Port Liberté Ferry Terminal and received an allotment in the state budget for $4 million over the next 3 fiscal years to supplement the service at this ferry terminal. The department issued an RFP, received 2 responses from 2 bidders, New York Waterway and New York Cruise Line, both of which were far exceeding sort of the anticipated budget for this project. So at this time, we're recommending a resolution to reject the bids, and a new RFP will be reissued that we will hope to get in line with the anticipated budget.
It's the heat that's making that noise. I apologize. But again, not my responsibility.
Any questions? Next one.
The next item is agenda item 10.23, resolution number 23-136. This is a resolution awarding a contract to WHL Enterprises for the fabrication and installation of new exhaust systems for the bathrooms here at City Hall.
Is this wait for all of the bathrooms?
So the work on the 2nd floor bathrooms was completed. There's currently work undergoing for the 1st floor bathroom, so this would assist with that. And I believe they will also do some minor design work as needed for the other floor, for 2nd and 3rd floors if it's needed. So we're just awarding this contract because we do not have the in-house staffing or expertise for this specific type of work. So the contract amount is $48,000. And that's why we're, bidding this out.
What happens if we don't do this? Like the exhaust in the bathroom is gonna stay.
Yeah, exactly. The duct work wouldn't be designed properly by the workers who are doing the installation. So there could be issues with venting, exhaust, et cetera.
Okay, thank you.
People will complain about the venting.
And I know that that's an issue right now with the current build out.
Any other questions?
Oh, Barca, the like bathroom stuff, that all goes through infrastructure.
It's only really if there's specialized work involved that DPW staff and some of the laborers who are doing the work that are contracted through DPW don't have that specialization within their teams. Architecture would then write up bid specs for that highly specified work and then contract out. So typically building maintenance is primarily supposed to be handled by the Department of Public Works. We've been assisting on projects as things like this come up.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you offline. I have really small things.
Okay.
Things I think we can handle in-house.
Okay, got it. And thank you for the question, because I meant to say that we're just working on writing up a memo and releasing it to city agencies, but also to the council to sort of outline what types of work would be handled by architecture, for example, related to buildings, and what is in-house work handled by DPW, just to clarify what the roles are for all of these different types of projects.
Any other questions?
Okay, the next item is agenda item 10.24, resolution number 23-137. This is a resolution related to a grant application through the State of New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. This is through the Urban Parks Initiative program. The amount that we would be requesting is $500,000. And the funds would be used to make improvements to Thomas McGovern Park, which is a 2.5 acre park in the Greenville area of Jersey City. As you all know, the park currently includes, the plans currently include improvements to the playground, splash park, multi-use tennis courts, the lawn area, et cetera. So major improvements throughout the park.
And council members, we're going to be holding a public hearing on any questions that the members of the public may have on the McGovern Park improvements. I was required to advertise the public hearing in the Jersey Journal, and it's also on our website as well.
Sean, do you have the date of that?
The date of the publication in the Jersey Journal was February 8th.
No, the date of when is the public
The
hearing?
public hearing is at the Thursday's council meeting.
Oh, okay.
It's part of the agenda. And we'll hold that public hearing right before the regular request for public hearing. Sorry, Director.
That's okay. Thank you.
Any
Okay.
questions? Okay.
All right, the last item is agenda item 10.29, resolution number 23-142. This is a resolution authorizing an extension of an agreement with VIA, which is the company known, or the company's name is River North Transit LLC, which we know as VIA, for on-demand transit services. The extension would be of the current contract for a period of 1 month. For an amount not to exceed $700,000. The reason we're doing this extension is because we intend to bring before the council a full 1 year renewal of the contract with VIA. And we're just ironing out a few details and to ensure that there's no gap in service, which is, the contract is set to expire at the end of February. This is a 1 month extension of the existing contract.
Questions? Thank you.
I was gonna say, what's the exact date that it would expire if we were to do this extension?
It would be February 25th, I believe. So we're cutting it really close.
That would be the date that it's
Oh, where the,
services stopped after,
after the extension.
yes.
Sorry. 1 second, let me pull that up. Okay, it would be March 24th.
Got it. Thank you.
Good. Thank you,
Thank you.
Director Green.
Good evening, council. I am here to present just one item before you. Agenda number 10.7, Resolution 23-120. And this is simply a resolution authorizing the acceptance of a $30,000 grant from Bergen County to do work in the Office of Cancer Control and Prevention through the Division of Community Health and Wellness.
Questions? Thank you. Saulo, how you doing?
Good evening, council. I have 4 discharges of mortgages to read for you tonight. First one is agenda number 10.8, resolution 23-131. This is for 223 Claremont Avenue, who have completed their affordability period and their discharge is ready to go.
That's 10.18, correct?
Yes.
Sorry, it's 10.8 on my sheet.
It says 10.8, but it's actually 10.18.
Gotcha. Next one is agenda number 10.19, resolution 23-132. This is for 260 Claremont Avenue, and they're also ready for a discharge. Third one is agenda number 10.20, resolution 23-133. This is a second mortgage for 260 Claremont Avenue that's also been satisfied and ready for discharge. And my final one is agenda number 10.21, resolution 23-134. And this is 29 Bayview Avenue, who've also completed their affordability period.
Questions?
Typically, we see one discharge per property is at Claremont is 2 different ones. Do we know what those were? 260 Claremont?
So no one in my division was involved back in 2009, but from what I spoke to with the homeowner, it seems that she got a homeowner repair the first year for $6,000. It opened up a whole bunch of other issues. So the following year, they gave her an additional one.
Good. Okay, thank you, Saulo.
Thank you.
Ivan Freire.
Good evening, Council President, Council at Large, City Council members. My name is Ivan Freire. I'm the Community Service Block Grant Manager. I'm here on behalf of the Division of Community Development to respectfully request the City Council to authorize Resolution 23-135, Agenda 10.22 for the acceptance and execution of a Community Service Block Grant non-discretionary agreement from the New Jersey Department of Community Affairs for the fiscal year 2023.
Questions? Thank you, Ivan.
Thank you very much.
Cohen? Evening.
Good evening, City Council. I have one item for your consideration. However, it does require an amendment, so I'll run you through that. Resolution number 23119, agenda number 10.6, a resolution authorizing the City of Jersey City to provide matching funds in the amount of what should read $21,124, which is a 10% match for the American Rescue Plan grant that was accepted at the January 25th meeting.
You guys aware of the amendment?
So what has to be corrected, council members, is the title. It says $52,810.75. What it should read is $21,124.
That is correct.
In the title.
We'll have that by Wednesday.
Yeah.
Yeah, and in the actual resolution, it states the correct amount as well.
Thank you. Questions? Thank you. John McKinney?
Good evening, council. The first two I have are second hearing ordinances. 4.1 is an ordinance authorizing the acceptance of a deed from Parks at VL South LLC affecting block 6005, lot 2, and 6902, lot 16. Are there any additional questions on this? I did speak about it at the last meeting. Okay. Same as for 4.2. This is an easement to Fair King Partners LLC. They're giving us $10,000 to expand the easement slightly.
Questions? Okay.
Fuck, John.
Okay, the next one is resolution 10.2, 23-115. It's a resolution authorizing consent to the petition of Frederick E.G. Valargakis Charitable Trust, making final corrective and termination distributions to the Jersey City Board of Education. This involves a private grant fund that was set up, or a trust fund, where the money was to be spent on a school psychologist at Jersey City schools. In the actual trust, it named the city of Jersey City rather than the Board of Ed. So this is just authorizing us to transfer the remaining money over to the Board of Education.
Questions? Okay.
Okay, the next one is item 10.9. That's a resolution to update the 2018 forestry standards. The Shade Tree Committee has met for the past couple years since the pandemic, and this is to get the formal council authorization of the substantive form of the new guidelines for 2023.
And I don't know if, can you summarize the changes and what I know our forestry as well?
To a certain degree, Mike.
Yeah, Mike, yeah.
John, could you come down and speak to me about this maybe
Sure.
tomorrow or during the week?
Hi, Michael DeChancia, Senior Forester. There was an addition of definitions at the beginning of the document. There was an addition, section 2.C.5, which was guidelines for planting in the tree bed, flowers for residents. There was a section added 1.G, which talks about enforcement and how to report violations that might be noticed by the public. We have added a new appraisal method, which it comes from the ISA, and it's been adapted from New York City Parks' method for appraising tree value. And then there was numerous changes to the species list.
For the species changes, can you sort of, without going like tree by tree, but can you sort of explain what guided the changes?
There were a number of species that were removed for being not quite hardy enough for city streets. And then there were some species that were added that, for example, hawthorn was added, which is a smaller tree that does well on the streets. And there was a couple species that were added that are a little bit more southerly in their native range, which is kind of like prepping for climate change.
Could you send us a list of these trees? I'd like to see the what they are, maples, oaks, or whatever.
Yeah, it's in the end of the resolution, which has the standards, so you could read them.
I don't know if this is for the forestry standards or this is something we'd look at in a different document. One of the issues that we've had is with new development, they're required to maintain a tree for 2 years. But after 2 years, the tree dies and then it just sits there. And obviously it's the city's responsibility. And, I'd love to extend that term to 5 years or 10 years. So the new developer has a longer obligation to maintain a healthy tree. Was that something you could either had looked at or would we be allowed to look at in these forestry standards?
I'd have to look into that, Councilman. That might actually be part of the planning board appraisal, but we could look into it.
Okay, yeah, that'd be great. And then I assume the Shade Tree Committee voted to like advance these to us?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Any reason why the golden rain trees are still on the list?
Yeah, I like the golden rain tree, as I think it's a really hardy tree and it doesn't get too big, so you can put it in tighter areas.
And the ones that we have on, what's that, MLK and where we were at on Myrtle? Was the issue, you remember we had the issue with the sidewalks raising?
That's a different tree. That's the honey locust.
Okay, are those trees still on too?
Yes, those trees are still on as well.
Well, I thought, so I'm confused now, because I thought, so you were saying before that they shouldn't have been planted there because it was too small, not necessarily because of the nature of the tree.
Yeah, you have to be particular where you put that tree because it has an aggressive root system. So you have to make sure you have a nice big open tree bed for them.
Regarding porous pavement for the trees, there was like a back and forth last year regarding Central Avenue SID putting in porous pavement. It wasn't disallowed, and that was actually like the accord that the SID and all the stakeholders came to in terms of putting porous pavement on the tree beds in this new, that's what they had told me. And is this still allowed or is it disallowed? So,
Yeah, no, I would not allow porous pavement in the tree bed.
or like,
John,
okay,
You can put porous pavement potentially in between tree beds, but the porous pavement being poured into the tree beds was problematic. It was choking out the trees. So we're not allowing it in the tree beds anymore.
are we allowing the tree grates, like plastic tree grates? So that's not allowed either.
So the forester is going to be able to make an exception to anything in these guidelines if need be, but the current recommendations and the guidelines is for the tree pits to be open.
Any other questions?
He's gonna say something.
Versus for the tree grates, what ends up happening is that they don't get expanded as the tree grows and then they cut into the bottom of the tree and they kill it. So I would always recommend putting a tree guard if you wanted some kind of protection around the tree bed rather than a flat tree grate.
Okay, all right. I'll probably discuss with you offline. Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. That's it, John?
Item 1027. And that is a resolution of the municipal council authorizing the business administrator to execute a discharge of a mortgage made to Statue of Liberty Harbor North redevelopment urban renewal. There's still some additional paperwork I need to get on this and some changes that need to be made to the resolution. So we're going to pull it from this meeting.
I understand we're pulling it, but sorry, can you just explain what it is?
Yeah, there's an old HUD Section 108 loan on this that was in reference to the development of the Trams Hotel off of Marin Boulevard, which never got built. The HUD funding was specifically related to job creation for people that were low income. Since the whole project essentially fell apart and is now going into different direction with the redevelopment agency, this discharges, or at least gives us the ability to discharge the old HUD 108 mortgage. And now apparently there's some deed restrictions and other things that need to be addressed on this as well, which is not included in this version, hence we're pulling it.
Got it. And we're basically saying that the city through HUD gave a mortgage to this developer.
Correct.
And then they did repay it in full. We're confirmed on that.
We've received the full payment. Yes.
Okay. Got it. Okay. Great.
Thank you.
Jody McConnell? Shirley?
Shit.
Good evening, council. I have one item on the agenda for consideration. That's agenda 10.1, resolution 23-114. It's for resolution authorizing the award of a contract to Fifth Asset, which is doing business as Deadbook, annual subscription for debt and lease management software under the National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance for $20,000 from March 1st, 22 to February 28th, 2024. 23 to 24, I'm sorry.
Questions? What was the last?
We couldn't
part?
hear the
I
last.
couldn't
part.
hear you, Shirley. If you can just, yeah, there you go.
Okay, so it is authorizing award for debt book. It's an annual subscription for debt and lease management under the Co-op National Cooperative Purchasing Alliance. It's for a year, March 1st, 23 to February 28th, 24. It's for 20,000, sorry.
How would this benefit the city versus using a Excel document?
Well, we were using Excel for a very long time, and this has actually maintained our debt schedule and actually make sure that we pay our debt. And it also transfers into our annual financial statement and our annual debt statement. And it's a check and balance. That
Okay.
answer?
Any other questions?
Didn't answer?
I mean, I'm just like, it sounds like we had trouble in the past, like keeping track of our debts, or
We
is that why?
have it in Excel. So what I do is I go into Excel and I make sure, and then always we compare it. So now we have, what DebtBook does is when you go into DebtBook, you can actually log in and it links everything to Emma and it links anything to our documents. So right now, if you wanted to look at our debt management, you would have to go back to one of the books. And if you've ever seen the books, they're really thick. Right now, everything is right there for you. So all you have to do is
Okay.
link it and look at it. And you could look at the debt schedule. You look at everything right in one spot. You no longer have to go to various sources. You have your resolution, your ordinance, your debt schedule, everything in one spot.
Have they trained people in using this?
Everybody in treasury. You have some in accounts and control. And then anybody who's bond counsel and bond counsel. So NW, the the people involved with bonds, and anyone else who would like to have view access can actually have view access.
And will they provide support services if there's issues with the data, porting it over, training folks?
This is actually our second year, so it's been absolutely wonderful.
Okay.
And anything that we've inquired about, they've changed. So for example, one of the things that we wanted is to control our own GL accounts. They've changed that so that we can actually implement our own GLs and make sure that they're accurate.
Okay, so this is the second year you guys are using this?
This is the second year.
Okay, I didn't want a unicorn situation, that's why.
No, I think this is one of the better softwares that I've ever seen. And I was actually very excited about it because I saw it over 3 years ago and I was trying to get it in for a while and we did get it in last year.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Marcano. Khadijah McNair?
Evening, council. I have one resolution to present in front of you. This is item 10.4, resolution number 23-117. This is a resolution authorizing the award of a contract to the Union Labor Life Insurance Company, which is ULICO, to provide stopgap insurance for employees and retirees. The agreement is for 1 year, from January 1st to December 31st, 2023. And we received 3 proposals and ULICO came out with the best.
Question?
And we've been using them before, or is this a change in provider?
This is a change. This is a new.
And who did we have before?
Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield.
Okay, interesting. And I guess this was done via RFP, is that right?
That is correct.
And I don't know, I'm sure the documents are in there, but can you summarize sort of why this proposal was better than our old provider?
So they actually came out with the best offer. Horizon, came out a lot more than Unico. And we always want to make sure that we're saving money, for the city. So this was the best.
Khadijah, could I ask you a question? I know sometimes that's not, the best thing to do.
Mhm.
So, I mean, my question is, are we getting rid of a good program because the other program is cheaper?
I don't think so. Jim, you want to just chime in a little bit on it?
Evening, council members. Just to chime in on this, I sat in this particular meeting. The service is actually a good conduit that was recommended by the broker as a better service, so it could help us provide continuing services from health, Blue Cross Blue Shield, and Ulico is going to be a conduit on the stopgap service that's going to be provide better and less expensive service as per the broker's recommendation.
So there should be no interruption in the services of the employees that are retirees, correct?
That's correct.
Any questions? Any other questions? Okay, thank you. Might as well stay up there, Mr. Carroll. You're next. Thank you, Khadijah.
Good evening, council members. I have 5 professional service agreement resolutions that we'd like to recommend from Human Resources. The first one is Resolution 10.3, which is a resolution awarding professional services with law firm of Murphy Orlando LLC. They do our EEO conflict matters. They are an excellent firm, worked with them in the past, and they do provide quality service. Any questions?
Okay, next.
Okay. Next item is 10.30. Item 10.30 is a resolution awarding a professional services agreement to Bianca Mano and Di Stefano to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claims petitions that are filed against the city of Jersey City. This is a continuing service. We've used them historically, and they have been very good with our office and meeting our standards. So we recommend continuation.
Questions?
Any questions?
I was going to say, where are most of the workers' compensation claims like coming out of? Which
I'd have to take a look at the statistics. Matt has a little bit more than that, and Matt just advised me he's retiring. So we're gonna miss Matt. But if you have any questions on it, I'm more than happy to send you the statistics.
Awesome.
Great.
Okay.
Resolution 10.31, resolution authorizing professional services agreement with CarePoint Health Medical Group to provide primary medical care services for employees injured on the job. They've been providing our healthcare services to our employee, and we have limited to minimal complaints. Everything seems to be very sufficient for our employees, and we believe they're meeting our standard of care. Questions?
Is this professional services contract or?
That's, yes, that's correct. Yep.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
No problem.
Okay.
10.32, a resolution awarding a professional services agreement to Florio Kenny Raval to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claims filed against the city. We do use 2 separate providers for workers' compensation claim due to the volume, and we want to make sure that we're providing enough attention to each one of our claims to properly defend the city.
Questions? Okay.
Great. And finally, it's Resolution 10.33, a resolution awarding a professional services agreement to Leitner, Tort, DeFazio, and Browse to provide defense counsel services related to workers' compensation claims filed against the city. Similar to the previous resolutions, they have been providing quality service to the city for quite some time.
Questions? Thank you.
Great. Thank you for your time.
It's a Wilson.
Evening, Council. I'm here to present ordinance 23018, agenda item 3.4, an ordinance supplementing chapter 160, establishing a fee schedule for lead-based hazard inspections of rental units pursuant to the state statute and amending Chapter 254 to include the registration of properties for compliance under this act. This act was enacted in July 2022, 2021, that requires municipalities perform inspections of single-family, two-family, and multi-rental dwellings for lead-based paint hazards. If the lead-based paint hazards are found, then the owner of these dwellings have to do some type of abatement and remediation. So this particular ordinance is allowing for the city to conduct these inspections, and 3.3 assigns these inspections to the Department of Housing and Economic Development and Commerce to do the inspections pursuant to the state statute.
This in line with like what other municipalities are doing in terms of they'll put it with the Department of Housing versus, let's say, code compliance or quality of life. And the follow-up is going to be, will we properly staff this this department so that we can make sure we're abiding by the law and following it and doing what was intended with the lead remediation?
So to answer your first question, I'm going to defer to administration because based upon their decision, determination, they assigned it to the Division of Housing. However, the law department had recommended another department to do it pursuant to what we believe the state statute read.
So depending on how the size of municipality, it kind of differs, and obviously throughout the city. With housing preservations, there's also a big data compilation component to it where you have to maintain certain records. Housing preservation is already doing that with certain apartment complexes. Therefore, it just made logical sense to put it with them. That way, all the data can be kept in one, space. They have their inspectors, and then the city does plan to hire more inspectors because we have a June 2024 deadline. So the fees will cover the inspection fees and help us, hire and provide for, payment for those inspectors that the city will have to hire.
Peter, this affects 1 and 2 family homes too, right?
Yeah.
Affects almost every building built before the 1978, is it?
Before 1978.
Maybe this should be pulled and we should have a closed session on this and speak about this because once again, you're attacking the 1 and 2 family homeowners and a lot of seniors that own homes that might want to sell their homes and now get screwed because they can't.
Council, this is a state mandate. So the state's, essentially every city in the entire state has to abide by this. So this is just us, making the ordinances to comply with the state's already regulating.
Well, actually, the state should change their laws because you're affecting a lot of people here that might want to sell their houses and they can't, and they're going to have an extremely large bill for taking care of something that's never caused problems over the years.
Understood, Councilman.
Could I ask a question? It's why wouldn't this be under the health department?
Again, I'm going to defer to the administration because they made the determination for it to go to the Division of Housing instead of Health.
So the conclusion was based on the record keeping portion of it. It made more sense to have that there because they have to create a list of all the tenant turnovers of every building that has the certificates. So for the record keeping portion, it made sense to have it with the housing preservation because they're already keeping records for that. They also have their own inspectors, so we're going to fully staff them to have any other inspectors I need for that.
I think we should talk about it.
Yeah, I think we should have some more insight or some more dialogue because just looking at the ordinance, health just jumps right at me. And I'm not, disagreeing per se with the administration's finding, but I think this calls for a little more dialogue.
Yeah.
With respect to.
Understood. The only other thing to consider too is going forward, we have the June 2024 deadline, so there can be a, high load in the very beginning to get a lot of this done. But after it's done, it shouldn't require, day-to-day inspections. It's going to be a lot less, volume as we go forward. So once that transpires, then we wouldn't have as many, these inspections to do. And it's more about record keeping at that point in time.
I just want to be on the record to say, I know that you're saying it's a record keeping, but I just feel more comfortable if this would be under the Department of Health and Human Services. That's where it should belong.
Yeah, this should be pulled and we should have further discussion on this. I mean, I don't care what the state says. We're concerned about people that own 1 and 2 family, 3 family, 4 family homes. And it's a shame.
Well, if the concern is where it's at, we can definitely have dialogue about that. I wouldn't recommend necessarily pulling it because we do have that deadline that we have to meet. So I just don't want to pull it and then we don't have a chance to meet that deadline for 2024.
So can we have that by Thursday? Okay.
So it's gonna get changed by Thursday?
Well, I have
What's
to,
happening?
I would like to contact the HHS to decide, what their point is and make sure they have adequate staff and ability to
It's
do
the
that.
first
too.
reading.
And then I can have it presented to the council and that way you have the information for the first reading.
Okay.
I mean,
I'm concerned about the staffing as well. Do we have people in the pipeline ready to go? Like what's,
Yeah, so they currently have employees that could do it. There's a certificate that you would have to, or a course that provide you a certificate in order to conduct this. Plan right now is to hire seasonal or temporary workers that could fully support it. That way of supervisory level, and we also have the, enough employees to do it. We're not making a long-term commitment where we'd have to, keep on these employees for years when it might take just a year to kind of get it, taken care of.
I mean, I think there's a first reading. I'm sure you guys will probably do some structural works before it gets to the second reading, but if you can have some information for us, or at least, for me, because I'm the one that's raising that,
Yeah.
should be in a different department issue.
Absolutely.
Any other questions? Thank you, Ms. Wilson. Last but not least, Tanya Marion.
Tanya? Director, excuse me.
Director Marion. Arione.
Very good.
We're good.
Okay, council. I'm here tonight on item 10.26, otherwise known as resolution 23-139. This is the official step for the designation of the expansion for the Green Villa redevelopment plan to be designated as an area in need of rehabilitation. If you're familiar with the Green Villa redevelopment plan, this is right behind the hub. It starts right at Bergen, kind of goes all the way down around Iggy. This is like a great example, I think, of how redevelopment changes over time. So a lot of the homes that are on Iggy were taken through redevelopment, and a lot of that land was blighted and demolished. And the homes that you see there now, which are a lot of affordable housing, are constructed. Whereas now we're looking to work more with the landowners, developers, in order to rehab the rest of the continuation along the light rail line all the way down towards West Side. And there will be, because this is a redevelopment plan and it would trigger the IZO, there would be an affordable housing component provided in this.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the latter part of that, Tanya. I don't know if you're here on 3.1, but it ties into that because this development will essentially go into the Green Villa. So I don't know if you can speak on that, but you did speak to that point because one of the, I guess, community give backs for this turning over a private street would be the developer would do 10% affordable. But being that that area will be transitioning to the Green Villa, if you got to do that portion anyway.
This is the Morton Place.
Yes.
Question? Mr. Harrington is here. I'm not fully familiar with the franchise details regarding that, but it would be, and I don't know if you know the area, kind of dead ends right now.
Yes.
To that, single story warehouse. Actually, I think it might be a senior or daycare. I can't remember exactly what it was used as last. So it would just be for that portion of it in order to kind of have a more complete development. If you have more specific questions, I would recommend that Mr. Harrington come up to answer them.
Yeah, well, yeah, Chuck, if you
Come on, Chuck.
Short and brief, Chuck.
So, yeah, for the record, Charles Harrington of Connell Foley. The questions regarding 3.1?
Yes, so if can he just read 3.1 into
Yeah.
in time? Because time, unless no one have any questions for Tanya, I don't think.
Any questions for Tanya? You want to read it into the record, Chuck? What?
3.1 is a franchise ordinance of the Municipal Council of the City of Jersey City to vacate a portion of Morton Place located to the northwest of John F. Kennedy Boulevard in the City of Jersey City in the County of Hudson in the state of New Jersey.
You just explained exactly what you're requesting or what to see your representative is requesting?
Yes, so this is, as Tanya mentioned, it's a dead-end area of Morton Place as you're traveling on Kennedy Boulevard going south. It's to the right, a little area. It's directly adjacent to the light rail station. Not light, but the light rail tracks as they go west, right? So my client owns all the parcels adjacent to this dead-end area. So they're requesting that portion be vacated. And then the idea, the concept is that that area then would be incorporated into a bigger development, which would be encompassed by the Green Villa expansion redevelopment plan. And then the ideas discussed was it would have, 10% affordable housing. Now, right now, this area is zoned R3. So you can do up to 8 stories, and I think it's 140 units an acre. So you can do a pretty substantial development there. But the idea is then if a bigger development occurs there, we could, and that would have no affordable housing under the R3. So the idea is if you had a larger development here, the entire project, 10% of the entire project would provide for affordable housing. So that is something that we're, working with planning, and this would be part of it because we think the vacation of it, that section there, if you see in the ordinance, would make it a more efficient kind of end of the block there too. Where the proposal right now is to have maybe the parking coming in off of Morton Place. But that's something the ultimate redevelopment plan, if you approve that resolution, and if this ordinance were approved, the redevelopment plan would make its way around to the city council again, before, anything is adopted and anything could go forward.
So in layman's terms, essentially what this developer is asking for, a private street to be turned public, right?
Well, a public street to go private.
I mean,
Yes.
yeah, to go, the issue with that is why it is a dead end, people still utilize the parking and not just the individuals on that little parcel. There's people across JFK that use that. There's people on Martin Place between Bergen and JFK that use that parking as well. So it's a really parking deprived area. So my concern all the time when it comes to turning public property into private is like, how does this make sense and is it worth it? And you said that area can go 8 stories. Your proposal or their proposal is 15 stories, which is already double the amount of what's permitted. And then the give back, it's only 10%.
Yeah, well, I guess 2 things. On the parking, the length of this portion is only about 85 feet on both sides, and it kind of cuts in. So I don't know how much parking that would affect.
About 10 cars, 5 on each side.
Okay. And then, the project is proposing parking as part of the overall project.
Not for the public though, right?
It would be for the residents of. Yeah.
The issue is the public needs parking.
Right.
That's the issue. We're vacating public parking spots to turn them private. So it's no longer accessible for the public. And again, the give back is 10%.
Right. So the give back is 10%. That's what we're looking at as the public benefit here, is that instead of having an R3 project with no affordable housing at all, which you can build, under the existing zoning, you have a larger project, 10%, it's somewhere estimated to be, 40 to 50 units of affordable housing. That would be part of the project. We think that's a substantial benefit of this, and we think it's appropriate because you're right by the light rail station. It's right around the corner. So that's the idea. We also we're discussing about providing for a daycare as one of the primary uses there. We think that's a need for people in the immediate area. So these are things that we were discussing as public benefits, as part of an overall project.
So quick question, what will go in effect first if we vote on a green villa? Because this is only a first reading. So if we vote on a green villa, which is the resolution, then it will become law in that permitted time frame. But by the time the second reading come up, that green villa will already be law, correct?
I don't think Green Villa would be law, by the time.
I didn't see you, Ty. I didn't know you were still there.
You have to pass a plan in order for that law to be, you have to pass a plan in order for that law to be effectuated. So it's designated, but then you actually have to go and, approve a plan, which is planning board and 2 readings of city council done through ordinance.
Can I just jump in? But why would we vacate the street before we approve the plan?
That is, if you vacate the street, then we know what, how it's going to work into the development, and the zoning, for it. So, the slate that you're dealing with. And that, again, as I said earlier, that plan would come back. So now we know we have this area in which to create zoning for and plan for, within the redevelopment plan. And the redevelopment plan would come back before the city council, would have to go before the planning board and the city council, first. And in that ordinance before you too, it has a sunset provision. So that, in the event, that a project does not get developed, consistent with the redevelopment plan, which this council has the ultimate approval of, then it reverts back to the city. So it's really for a planning, no pun intended, the planning purposes that you get, do we know as the potential development of that land, do we know that we're going to be able to use that portion of Morton Place, or would we need to plan without it? That's why it's here before the redevelopment plan is in place.
I think, yeah, I don't know. I think, well, I don't know. Mara's not here. That's actually in Ward B. So I don't know, huh? B, I think it's B, yeah, because it's right down the block. Wow.
We did meet with Councilwoman Panzeri about this.
Did you guys do a community meeting too?
We have not yet met with the community. We're actually scheduled to present the concept project sometime next week. I forget the date.
So
Okay.
Chuck, if they're vacating the street, right? So I guess once we pass this, there won't be any on-street parking. We won't be responsible for maintaining that street. So no sweeper, trash, snow removal. How does all that work?
Yeah, ultimately, when a street gets vacated, it reverts title to the adjacent property owners, and they would be responsible for it.
So can Chuck, who is the developer here that's making this request?
My client is William Melms.
I think just to the point Frank just made, I understand your argument about the planning purposes, but it sort of feels like that if the street vacation is part of the plan, it makes sense to kind of move those two together to, get the consent of the full council, and obviously if the council doesn't approve the plan, then, there's obviously the alternative of what do you do, with maintaining a public street. It's just hard for me to see the public's value in splitting those two from each other. The approval of one thing to approve the redevelopment area, it's another thing to approve the plan. And so it's hard for me to see like you should do the street vacation and the approval of the plan together. It's obviously not my ward, so I'm not, I'm going to defer to Ward B and, adjacent folks, when the plan comes, but, we don't have a plan to view yet.
And that's kind of the idea here, is that they work together. If it were, that the redevelopment plan would incorporate this, maybe the ordinance, only takes effect upon a redevelopment plan being passed and a site plan approval being adopted. That's getting to the same point. That's where we're, nothing happens without both being passed. So that's the idea here.
And I guess my last question, because I think it's like 3 or 4 LLCs, so the same individual own all of those LLCs?
They're all, yeah, the different, because they were different transactions. They were bought differently, so they used different LLCs, but that would be cleaned up where it would be consolidated as one lot under one LLC. I had discussed that with the tax assessor during this process as well, because then, he's not, we're not going to have all the different LLCs. They'll all be kind of merged in because they're all the same members. It was just that when you're buying property A, property B, property C, we're just using, ABC LLC, DEF, 1, 2, 3.
So it's basically all the same principal owners?
Those same, yeah, same members.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is a little premature, but, that's my feeling.
Sure, keep us posted on the community meeting. We'll discuss that. We'll have side conversations with Councilwoman Prinzary, but interesting to see how that meeting goes. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Sean, let's take it from the top.
Great. So all of the first readings were covered earlier, so we're moving right on to the second reading ordinances. Items 4.1 and 4.2 were touched on earlier. 4.3, City Ordinance 23-011 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 9, Parking for the Disabled of the Jersey City Code, designating reserved parking space at various locations throughout the city. Item 4.4, City Ordinance 23-012 is an ordinance supplementing Chapter 332, Vehicles and Traffic, Article 3, Parking, Standing, Stopping, amending Section 332-31, parking restrictions for street cleaning purposes on Morgan Street between Green Street and Marin Boulevard. Item 4.5, City Ordinance 23-013 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement with Lialto Capital Urban Renewal LLC for the use of space at the Lesser's building located at 4 Beacon Way in Jersey City. Item 4.6, City Ordinance 23-014 is an ordinance ratifying the renewal of a lease agreement from Hardwood Corporations for the use of 36 parking spaces located at 808 Livonia Avenue.
Yeah, Sean, I have something to say about that, and I wish Tanya had not have left. I just want to remind you that the Journal Square redevelopment plan does not require parking for any new developments. According to the plan, 0% of people who move next to the transportation hub will not use cars. Yet here we are approving a payment to lease parking spaces for our own workers because the reality is people are still using cars in Journal Square. I'm not opposed to leasing the parking spaces for 2 years, but I am asking the city council to note that parking must be a consideration in Journal Square at this point. City planning should consider a phase-in parking requirement of a certain percentage instead of 0%. I point this out now as I do intend to work with the city planning on a development. These new buildings that are going up, everybody supposedly doesn't have cars, but they're all parking down Magnolia, Pavonia, and the whole area. And they park 2 or 3 blocks from those big giant buildings and walk up. And it's actually out of control. And I wish Tanya hadn't left because something has to be done.
Rich, can I ask a quick question? Do you have zone parking in Hilton?
No.
No. It's something to consider too.
We tried to get it and they turned us down.
Because then if you live in the buildings, you wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to.
I just wanted to say that because it's absolutely getting out of control with these new buildings they're putting up with no consideration for the people in the 1 and 2 family home areas.
Okay. Going through the agenda, we're gonna have a public hearing on the Special Improvement District of the 2023 Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District, their assessment role and their budget, which coincides with one of the 2 of the resolutions that we're going to get to. Also, as mentioned earlier, we're also going to have a public hearing on the McGovern Park improvements. And then our regular request for a public hearing from members of the public. We have 9 speakers currently. Petitions and communications. Any questions or comments on items 6.1 through 6.11? Hearing none, we don't have any officer communications. Reported directors, any questions or comments on items 8.1 through 8.5? Okay, we have our claims posted. On to our resolutions. Items 10.1 through 10.9 were touched on earlier. Item 10.10, City Resolution 23-123, is a resolution reappointing Alba Cupo as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Item 10.11, Resolution 23-124, is a resolution reappointing Sullivan C. Johnson III as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Item 10.12, Resolution 23-125, is a resolution reappointing Dannon Hill as an alternate member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. And item 10.13, Resolution 23-126, is a resolution reappointing Michael T. Brown as a member of the Jersey City Rent Leveling Board. Yes.
I just want to ask with regards to these appointments, if the administration can speak, are there, like certain criterias that individuals have to sit on these boards, or whoever the administration picks can pretty much sit?
Yeah, generally, these people have certain backgrounds that are useful to the board. You know, the resumes are all attached. That's why, you know, they can look at them and make sure that they have any qualification that might be necessary, or at least a background that might be necessary to benefit the board.
You know, Peter, in the past, a few years back, we always got a resume on these people. We don't get any resume on them anymore.
They should be attached to the resolutions.
There's a resume attached to each resolution. And just a reminder, all of these appointments are reappointments. So these are holdovers that are now being reappointed on the Rent Leveling Board.
My question was essentially, do we have
It's an attachment.
some type of, is it like, do they have to have certain qualifications? We see the resumes, right? But I'm saying from the administrative perspective, you may say, all right, we need individuals sitting on this board that have the following traits, characteristics, skills, or credentials, and list said items there. Do we have that?
I don't think there's any legal requirements that you're asking, but generally the administration looks for people that have some kind of background or qualifications that would be beneficial to the board.
Oh, the short answer is no, we don't.
So they try to balance like the tenants' rights and people who have experience with that. As far as what the specific criteria is, I don't think there's any one criteria that fits everyone. It's just if they have certain backgrounds that fit that.
Okay. Thank you. Next is 10.14, Resolution 23-127 is a resolution accepting the assessment role of the Jackson Hill Main Street in Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City, which coincides with 10.15, Resolution 23-128, which is a resolution adopting and ratifying the 2023 budget of the Jackson Hill Main Street Special Improvement District of the City of Jersey City. No questions? All right. Next, item 10.16, Resolution 23-129. It's a resolution reappointing yours truly, Sean J. Gallagher, as city clerk and local registrar.
No.
We get a resume.
Congratulations. Sean.
Can we pull this?
Well, so,
Congratulations, Sean. You're the best.
I appreciate that.
Meetings don't start on time, right, Sean?
What was that?
That's what happens when meetings don't start on time. You get all the
You're right. You're right.
We put IT under the clerk. That's his responsibility.
And the heat too, the heat noise that's in the room. I just want to thank the administration, Mayor Fulop and the entire city council. You guys are the backbone, my backbone, and I'm just your secretary that does the work behind the scenes. And I just can't thank you enough for your support with this. And I hope that you vote in the affirmative for my reappointment. And my pledge to you is to be the best city clerk that the state has and that the city ever had. And that's big shoes because I replaced someone who was city clerk for over 30 years and he's my mentor. And I know he's very happy to hear that my reappointment is happening too. So I want to thank all of you here, especially in this room, and people at home that know me at home, especially my family. You know, as long as my wife and my son will allow me to stay, you'll have me here back, you know, at least until the 2031. So
Yeah, Sean, just get these meetings to start on time or we're gonna fire you.
So Councilman, that was a little bit of a unnecessary punch to the clerk. And when I tried my best to get IT here as early as possible, but I don't think we're going to have any more problems with the equipment. In all fairness and in all seriousness, it is sometimes when the computers get updates, if that computer is not shut off correctly.
I'm only teasing you, Sean.
Okay.
I want to make sure.
We love you, Sean.
I don't know what you talking about. Yeah,
He on the record, right?
the clerk right there. Sean.
I appreciate you guys very much and I appreciate your support. All right, enough about me. Let's move on to the rest of the meeting so we can get the council members home to walk their dogs and do whatever they need to do.
Yes, the three of us.
So items 10.17 through 10.24 were touched on earlier. See, it's never a dull moment, even during caucuses. Item 10.25, Resolution 23-138 is a resolution commemorating Joseph Michael Mackey on the occasion of his retirement. After 27 long years with the city of Jersey City, Joseph is finally calling it a career, and I'm just speaking personally, he's going to be sadly missed. It's a big loss for the city and a big loss for the Department of Recreation.
Done right.
I'll get in touch with him to make sure he comes. It's Friday. Okay, items 10.26 through 10.33 were touched on earlier. Just before we go into the last one, just wanted to confirm with the administration that 10.27 will be withdrawn. Correct? Thank you. All right, last but not least, 10.34, Resolution 23-147 is a resolution renewing professional service agreement with the law firm of McManus, Scotland and Bourne LLC to provide local land use legal counsel services in connection with the 6th Street embankment settlement.
Before we end, can I just ask Mr. Baker, what are we up to, about $20 million now on this, Mr. Baker?
No, and Councilman, you had mentioned before that it was, I think, 14 million, which was.
That was a year ago.
Which was what was quoted in the paper, which was wildly incorrect. The total amount was about, I'll get the exact number.
Yeah, would you please? Well, I know it's over 14 million.
That's not the case.
Motion to adjourn.
No, it wasn't, Councilman. But at any rate, I'll circulate an email. The discussions are ongoing here. Obviously, this is a long, complicated matter, but we are still having productive settlement discussions here and hope to have something resolved this year.
All right.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn made by Councilperson Saleh at 5:45 p.m. May I have a second? Second by Councilperson Ridley. All council members present by acclamation, please say aye.
Aye.
We are out of here at 5:45 p.m. Thank you so much, everybody watching at home and everybody here present and all the members here, council members. Remember, teamwork makes the dream work. Have a great night. Stay safe.